Hiya guys, a quick game for the new year, and there's been some lively debate on the comments section of my YouTube reports about the relative merits of General Darnay and Black Powder. I'm a definite fan of General Darnay, but me and Charlie thought we'd have a quick game of Black Powder today. Forgive us, we are very rusty with the rules, and we use a sort of aggregated version of Black Powder 1 with a couple of the Black Powder 2 modifications, and also using the modifications that were included in the 1812 supplement that provided extra fidelity on how to form square if in line, some other formation changes and so forth to give it a bit more of a Napoleonic feel. Well, for today's game we're doing a pretty small one. We're playing a meeting engagement between my Confederation of the Rhine Brigade, here we go. You can see some Nassau light infantry there, and a Nassau artillery battery, supported by my two Nassau infantry battalions, two more Burg infantry battalions, and then a small brigade, actually of the French Chasseurs Cheval 1st Regiment, but we're going to use them as Confederation of the Rhine light cavalry, given they've got the German style helmets, and I think that'll fit in quite nicely for that. So we've got one small French cavalry brigade, one large Confederation of the Rhine infantry brigade. I'm facing off against them. We've simply got one brigade from the Allied side of British troops. This is from the 5th Division, their what was their 8th Brigade, I think, at Waterloo. So we've got the 28th and 32nd Infantry, we've got the Highland Battalion, and we've got some rifles. And we've got a foot artillery battery. So, as I say, small game. Hopefully this will be a relatively short and sweet video. Hope you enjoy it. I'm really interested in your feedback, so anything you'd like us to play in 2021. Seems like lockdown's going to be with us for a fair while yet, so we've got the opportunity to come up with some more games. Let us know what sort of periods you might want us to play. We do a lot of Napoleonics, but as you've seen, if you've looked back at our older videos, we've also got a samurai army, we've got some ancients, mid-imperial Romans, and Sassanids and Palmyrans, and we've got plenty of English Civil War too, which we play with the WECW rules normally. So all of those are up for games, and any scenarios particularly you'd like us to do with our late Napoleonic British, French and Prussian armies, noting that we haven't got that many Prussians. So up for any suggestions, any ideas, tell us what you particularly like. Look forward to seeing your comments. It's always great to get feedback, encourages us to keep the channel going. Everyone seems to be pretty much enjoying it at the moment, so we'll crack on anyway with this game today. Cheers everyone. Okay, so the Confederation of the Rhine have the initiative and they're going to kick off. Their plan for attack in this game is to push against the what is their left-hand side as they look at it of the Allied line, and pin the Allied troops that are on their far right flank with their cavalry to prevent them redeploying and trying to use their superiority in numbers to break the British in the left. Alright, we'll do the command rolls for the Confederation troops to get cracking. Their leader has a command leadership of 7. The British have a leadership of 8. Okay, first order will be these 2 Nassau battalions to see if they can advance. We're looking for them to advance ideally up to as far as the edge of the wood. We roll a 5. Their leadership is 7, so that's 2 less, so they should get 2 moves forward. So we are using the updated rules, so this means that they only get a movement of 8 if they're in line. So this Confederation battalion took its first move to form into double line, and then has advanced 8 inches forward, and its companion has moved up in parallel to it. The skirmishers have advanced as well. We'll now go for the columns, and we are going to look to advance them and swing them to their left to occupy the gap between the woods and the edge of the Nassau Brigade. 12, that's a blunder. Let's have a look at the blunder rolls. Okay, so rolling a blunder for the Burg battalions. We've rolled a 5. That gives us a move forward, so it'll take 1 move to the front. Alright, that's actually consistent with its preordained orders, so pretty happy with that. Okay, so we're using standard French unit compositions for this, so the French line infantry rules are applying to our Confederation troops, and their light cavalry rules we're applying to the chasseurs. So they've got more order, so they don't get a penalty for being more than 12 inches away from their commander, and actually indeed they're their own brigade. So they've got their own brigadier within them. They are marauders anyway. They need a 7. Alright, they get to move forward and start pinning the British infantry. And now finally we're going to try and move our light company and our battery up to the edge of this rocky outcrop to start bringing some fire on the British. So command roll to move those forward. We'll use the general's command to do that. We roll a 10, the order fails to go off. Alright, we'll leave it there for the end of the Confederation turn. Okay, so the Burg Artillery is going to open fire first in the shooting phase. So it starts with needing a 4+ to hit. It is at over half range. It's at 25-inch range. Half range for artillery would be 24. So that's +1, so that means 5+ hit, and it's firing at deployed artillery, so we'll need a 6. Because it's long range, we only get 1 dice. So do we get a 6? Nearly! We got a 2. It toppled back from a 6 to a 2. So they don't hit. Alright, and then this set of skirmishers, they only get 1 dice as well. As this unit's in mixed formation, they also get to fire at the deployed artillery, and they'll be needing 5s to hit. I don't give the extra -1 that there was in Black Powder 1 for skirmishers, so they'll normally need a 4 and they're firing at deployed artillery, so that's a 5 for the skirmishers. They get a 4, there also is no effect from their firing. Alright, none of the other skirmishers from the other skirmish screens are in range. That's the end of French or Confederation of the Rhine, turn 1. Now over to the British. Okay, so the British artillery can see this Nassau battalion advancing towards them, so they will open fire against this. Well, no, sorry, it's commands. Must do my commands first. We are going to move our skirmishers in the 95th Rifles forward. Okay, we'll just go and check the distances and come back and do that in a second. Okay, so the 95th Rifles are over 12 inches away from the commander, so they will need a 7 to activate. Indeed they do. They've been ordered to occupy that broken ground. Okay, next we're going to order the 28th Gloucester to form square, given the approaching French cavalry units. That's a 7, they manage it. Okay, and then we're going to order to advance to the stream these 2 brigades. They fail. Alright, no movement from the rest of the British brigade. That's the end of movement, and we'll start with shooting in this turn. Okay, so we will fire this artillery brigade. It's at medium range, so we can ignore the skirmishers, and we're going straight into the Nassau Infantry Battalion. In fact, it's at long range. So only 1 dice to fire. It needs 4s normally, but it's over half range, so it needs 5s. Yeah, 5s. Okay, let's see what we get. We get a 3. No casualties from this gun. And that completes the end of turn 1 for the British. Okay, so we're going to kick off with the Nassau. They are being ordered to continue their advance. Ideally, two moves worth of advance. 1 to move forward and deploy the left-hand Nassau battalion into line, and the other one to move parallel to it and move up to the edge of the stream. We'll see what we get. Indeed, we pull it off. Let's move the Nassau. Okay, we'll now move the Confederation of the Rhine. They are going to... wonder whether we change plan here. We have now pinned that British battalion in square. So I think we might actually hold on the left, change of plan. We're going to attack that square with these columns on the right. So they're going to move up, and we might even have a go at charging the square. Yeah, let's have a go. That's what we'll do. 2 columns to move up, and 1 of them to potentially assault the British square. You get a 7. That's only 1 move forward, and we'll move those columns up. On the far right flank, we're going to move our Confederation light cavalry. We're going to do slightly edge forward towards the stream with the. We're going to sort of pivot on the centre point, slightly pull the right-hand brigade back to make sure it's out of musketeers' range, and slightly pivot the left-hand one forward only by an inch or two. So we'll have a go at that. I think we can just about do that in one move. Leadership of 7. 8, they fail. They're stuck where they are this turn. They might have been able to do an initiative move, but I have to do that before I do any orders, and I didn't think of it. Okay, and then finally, our Commander-in-Chief is going to again have a go at ordering the artillery battery and their skirmishers forward. He's rolled a 6, they can prolong one move forward, so we'll roll those guns forward. Heave, guys, put your backs into it, move that battery up. Okay, so the Nassau have now moved up onto the edge of this little hillock, supporting their artillery battery. They're now in their chosen position, overlooking the Allied lines and in position to support their infantry colleagues who are moving up. Right, all things have gone well in the movement phase and the orders phase for the Nassau. Now we go on with firing. We'll start with the artillery. Okay, so now the battery's moved forward, it's at effective range, under half range. So it'll be needing 4s normally to hit with no penalty, but it's still firing at deployed artillery, so it'll need 5s, and those skirmishers are more than 6 inches away from the guns, so they're not falling in the fire zone of their own artillery. Okay, let's open fire. We need a 5 to hit. Yeah, that's 1 hit against the gun crew, but not a 6, so not disordered for the British guns. Okay, we'll now fire the 2 Nassau skirmish screens. First one needs 5s against the guns. That's a hit, and they are disordered. And then the second one will fire against the British infantry battalion. That's a 2, that's a miss. We do, of course, need to do the morale saves for the guns, so that's 2 saves on the guns, but we do have 1 disordered result. Okay, the guns got a save of 4+. They actually save them both, but the guns still go disordered, but don't have a casualty. Okay, and we'll now fire the Burg skirmishers against that British square. They get a 3, that's no effect. That's all my shooting done. No hand-to-hand combat turn for this turn. Next, over to the British. Okay, so these 2 British battalions are going to get an order to advance to the river line and support their artillery battery. Let's see if they can do that. They'll be needing an 8 or less. They roll a 6, despite me knocking their commander over. Alright. Actually, he's the artillery commander, I need to get a brigade commander out. So they can advance. Okay, so the British Rifles are opening up from this rocky hillock against the closest unit, small unit of French Confederation of the Rhine chasseurs. They will normally need a 4 to hit, and they get 4 dice normally, and they also have the first fire roll, which means the first time they open up, they get an extra dice. So it'll be 5 dice, needing 4s to hit. Okay, let's see how we do. Terribly. So I only rolled 4 dice, so there should have been 5, so I get 1 more. I can't believe that. 4 2s and a 1. Clearly an off day for the Rifles, their powder must be wet. No effect from their firing against the French cavalry. Okay, so the square from the 28th could also open fire against the attacking Burg infantry. However, it's got the first fire ability. In the square it only gets 1 dice, that would increase it to 2. I don't think it's worth it. I think we'll save the shot if we're charged as closing fire. See if we can beat off any charge against us by those infantry while we're still pinned by these cavalry. So we're going to hold our fire here. As we look across, we will then open fire with our Highlanders against the Nassau, who are approaching. It is the Highlanders in the front. Okay, so we'll be opening up against this battalion of Nassau, moving in on our position. Okay, so the Highlanders' first fire will get 3 dice, and they're going to fire through the Nassau skirmish screen at this attacking Nassau infantry battalion. 3 dice, extra dice because it's the first turn of firing. Okay, so needing 5 to hit. That's 1 hit and disordered on the Nassau. And there will do their save. Apologies for this being all a bit stop-start, as I don't know the stats off by heart. I need to refer to the rules. So we get a 4+ save for the Nassau. They do save, but they still take the disordered result. So that battalion gets disordered. And finally, the British Artillery will open up against 2 dice because it's at effective range against the Nassau. And as it's at effective range, it ignores the skirmishers still. I think that's right. And it will, because it's firing round shot rather than shrapnel, or canister rather. So it normally needs a 4, and I think that's it. Okay, so 2 shots. But needing 5s, because it is of course disordered. So that's 2 casualties and a shaken against the Nassau, but we'll take their saving throws. A 6 and a 4. Now the saving throws are adjusted for being shot at by artillery. Let's have a look what those adjustments are. So the adjustments are at -2, so it takes a 6 to save. So that's 1 casualty on this Nassau, and it also has gone disordered. And then finally for the turn, the British Artillery reforms and recovers from its disordered status. So pretty good turn from the British here. They've managed to stall and disorder the advancing Nassau battalions, but the threat against the square is still there, and the rifles fail to disrupt the cavalry threat. Alright, that's into turn 2. We'll move on with turn 3. Okay, so on we go with turn 3. The French attack on the left has stalled as the Nassau battalions are both disordered, but we'll see it presumably continuing, well hopefully continuing to take place on the right, but we need to pass our command rolls. Alright, on we go with turn 3. Okay, we'll start over there here with the French chasseurs. I think they're just, we're going to do the same move. We're going to try and wheel them to a left and form, suddenly pull back that right-hand battalion so it's not so exposed to the fire from the rifles. 10. They fail again. Alright, no movement for them. Alright, we'll have a go with the Burg Infantry. They're going to have a go at supporting the assault of one another against the square of the 28th, I think, it's over there. 4, 5. That goes off with a leadership of 7, that's 2 less, that gives them 2 moves. And with a movement rate of 12 for column, they will get into contact. Alright, we're going to move them up. Okay, so the Nassau have moved, the Burg troops in the Confederation of Rhine Brigade have moved up and are about to assault the British square, which will do some closing fire to try and drive them off. They're still threatened by the 2 units of chasseurs from the Confederation, while the Nassau battalions will be immobile this turn. They'll do some firing, but they're unable to move those battalions as they're both disordered. The French artillery on the hill, the Confederation artillery on the hill, will have another go at the British. Alright, opening fire with the battery on the hill, going at the Highland Regiment. That's actually at long range, so first dice will only be 1 dice. And artillery is at over half range, so we need a 5 to hit. And using the adjusted rules in the 1812 scenario booklet, we get a chance for effectively bounce through as well for anything else that's in long range, and the 2nd battalion is. So we'll both roll a dice against both of them. I think that's how it works, both needing 5s. Okay, so 1 and a 2. I should have rolled them separately so we knew which one was which, but no matter, they've both fallen short. Alright, we will fire our skirmishers, 1 dice against the dismounted British foot artillery battery, so against -1, so they'll need a 5 to hit. They hit and a morale save. They make their morale save, so no effect from that. And then we'll fire against the Highlanders. That's a miss, so that's the end of their firing. And then we will fire our skirmishers against the flank. This is the Burg skirmishers that are hidden away in this wood here. They're on the edge of the wood. They'll have a go at shooting at the rearmost British battalion on the left. Again, needing a What will they need? Probably just a 4 to hit. Nope, they miss as well. So pretty ineffective firing from the French. We'll now do defensive volley from the square, and we'll see how we get on in the hand-to-hand combat phase. Okay, so the 28th Foot are going to take advantage of their first fire order and fire their 1 dice for their fire effect for being in square, and they get their bonus dice. Hope that's the way this works. So they'll roll 2 dice and they get a +1 to their effectiveness, or a -1 to their effectiveness. They hit on 3s on closing fire. So 2 shots going against that Burg battalion. So then hitting on 3s, so that's 2 hits. Alright, we'll just do the saves for the French infantry. Okay, so it saves on 4s. We got a 3 and a 5, so we got 2 hits but no disorder. And let's see what we do on the saves. 1 save, 1 casualty on the Burg infantry. Okay, so this looks a bit tough for the British. I hadn't realised quite how penalised they would be for being in square. So they only get to roll 2 dice, and the Confederation of the Rhine troops get to roll 6. So let's roll for the British. We get a 1 and a 2, so not great. And then for the Confederation of the Rhine, we get 3 hits. Okay. And 1 6, so I'll see whether that gives us any disordered benefits. But we got 3 saves for the British. They save 1, and that's cocked. They save 2, so they take 1 casualty. Okay, so the Confederation Burg troops have won this hand-to-hand combat. They cause 1 casualty on the square. They suffered 1 on closing fire, but they do have a supporting unit, so they have won this combat. And we will see the break result on the square for losing the combat on the British. We roll a 5. So on a 5 in shooting and hand-to-hand, infantry and cavalry have to retire. That will force that battalion off the table for the moment. Okay, so the Burg infantry has now driven the British from the table, and the observant of you may spot it made a mistake there. I should have had the hand-to-hand modifiers also in place, and charging units get a bonus of a -1 on their die rolls, but given that the Burg won and didn't take any casualties in hand-to-hand combat, no change in the overall outcome there. Alright, that's the end of the turn. The Nassau have now formed up, recovered from their disorder, and we get on with the British turn 3. Okay, so now a challenge for the Allies here. We've got the Nassau forces moving up on us, but we've also got the Burg infantry now to our flank. So we'll do an initiative order with this rearmost battalion. The Burg skirmishers are within 12 inches, so it will reform to face off against this threat. Okay, so movement's complete for the British. The 32nd Cornwall Regiment have reformed and will now do a volley into the flank of the Burg infantry. The Highlanders are still facing off against the Nassau. We'll have a go at volleying them, as will our artillery. Hopefully we can drive them both off this turn again, and do something with our rifles, who are still threatening the cavalry units to their front. Alright, let's get on with the shooting. Okay, we'll open up with our foot artillery battery against the Nassau first. A 5, that's 1 casualty, but no disorder this turn. And a morale save against artillery fire at medium range is -2, so the Nassau need a 6. They don't get it, so they take a casualty. Alright, and then we'll do our Highlanders, who will volley against the other Burg battalion. They will have 3 dice. They've done their first fire. And they will be hitting on a... they'll be having to fire at the skirmishers, so they'll be hitting them or through the skirmish screen, so they will need 5s to hit. They get 1 hit. Again, no disorder, and a save for the Nassau. They save on a 6. Alright, no effect then from that Highlander volley. Okay, so 32nd, opening fire against the Burg. Again, these have a skirmish screen effectively in front of them, so there'll be 5s to hit, but they are taking advantage of it being first fire, so they get 4 dice. 1 hit on the Burg, who don't save. That's the second casualty on that battalion. And then finally we're going to fire our skirmishers against the French cavalry unit, needing force to hit. 2 hits, that's pretty good. And then saves 4+. 1 casualty on the cavalry. Given the rifles are sharpshooters, we do get 1 reroll against our shots there, so we'll just take that reroll. Roll again. 3. They don't hit, I don't believe. I'll just check. No, I'm not playing skirmishers getting a +1 to hit, so they don't indeed cause a casualty with that sharpshooter reroll. Alright, that's it for British turn 3. We'll move on to turn 4 for the Confederation. Okay, so the Nassau are getting fed up with taking all these casualties, so they've pulled their skirmish screens back on an initiative move and will be able to start volleying directly. The Burg battalion on the flank has also been able to close up because it's been able to move on initiative to approach the British battalion there, but it has taken 2 casualties already. We now have to do an order to move its supporting battalion up, and unfortunately it is quite a way away, so this is a dice roll on +3. 8, 9, 10, 11, that order fails. We'll now move our brigade commander, and I think we'll take this opportunity to move him across and provide an ability to command and control that Burg infantry battalion. Once again, the light cavalry failed to respond to any orders, but we have, as you can see, moved our brigade commander across so he can provide some support, and we'll now get on with the French Confederation shooting. We will start with the Nassau battalion on the left, firing at the deployed artillery. They'll need 5s to hit. Wow, that's 1 disorder and 2 hits. Saves 4+. 1 save, 1 casualty, and the guns are disordered. Okay, so the 2nd Nassau battalion will have a go at the Highlanders. Again, 3 shots. 2 hits, both disorder results. Saves for the Highlanders. No saves, 2 casualties, and the Highlanders are disordered. Right, the artillery battery on the hill is now going to fire 1 shot against the Highlanders and going for bounce through against the Cornwall battalion deployed behind it. So first one needing, this will be artillery at long range. Artillery at over half range is -1, so 5s to hit the Highlanders, no, and then 5s to hit the other battalion. No, nothing from them, and we'll have 1 shot from the Burg skirmishers against the 32nd Cornwall, and they miss as well. That's it for the Burg firing, and we move on with the Allies' turn. So in an effort to shift the course of this battle, the 32nd Cornwall are not going to wait to be charged by that column, they're going to go in first. It has taken quite a few casualties, and we're in a pretty parlous situation here. So we're going to charge. We've got an initiative, so we will be able to charge into closing fire range. Okay, firing the British foot artillery first against this Nassau battalion. They need 5s because the British artillery are disordered. A 3 and a 5, that's 1 casualty. And let's see the morale save. No, that's 3. So that battalion is now potentially disordered. Indeed, that should have been shaken, so that battalion is now shaken. And then we'll do the firing against this battalion here. 3 dice, again needing 5s as the Highlanders are disordered. 2 shots, they shake the Nassau battalion, who fail 1 save. So the Nassau take 1 casualty, and this battalion is disordered. Okay, so the Burg infantry cannot do first fire, so they just get 1 shot as the British close in. They get a 5, that does cause a casualty, but the British do save it. Alright, they will then charge home. We'll move on to hand-to-hand combat with the Burg and the 32nd. Okay, let's do the British. First, they will need 3s to hit because they're charging. Pretty good. They've got 5 hits there. And the Burg, there we are. You don't get a disordered result from hand-to-hand combat. And the Burg get their saves. They save 2, but they take 3 casualties, therefore are shaken. Burg attack back. They'll be hitting on 4s. They get 3 casualties. And then the British saves. They save 2 of them and they take 1. And therefore the British will have won that combat. Okay, so this won't be great news for the Burg infantry. They've now taken 5 casualties. That's 2 excess casualties. So they are shaken, that's -1, and then a further -2 for the excess casualties. So this will be at a test of -3. Let's see how they do. 5 -3 is 2, and a result of less than 4, the Burg infantry break. And then just before we forget, we've got the shots from the riflemen. I know we should have done those earlier. So 3 shots for the battalion, but 1 reroll for being sharpshooters. That's 2 hits, 3 hits, 3 morale saves for the cavalry. They fell 2 of them, so they've taken 3 casualties and are also now probably shaken. Okay, so it's make or break for the Confederation. Their light cavalry can see the end of that British line, especially the right-hand battalion here. So they're going to declare a charge with their commander. They'll at least need a 5 or less to get into range, but they're going to give it a go. So let's roll for them. They get a 6, that's only 1 move. That will not be sufficient. I'll move them up. Okay, so just 1 cavalry unit tried to charge because it wasn't shaken. This one is shaken. I think we'll still try and give it an order. It doesn't say I can't. It will be destroyed if it leaves the table. It suffers a hit penalty. It cannot charge or countercharge, but we will try and withdraw it from musketry fire. And we roll a double 1, so that hopefully comes off. Hopefully I got that right. We'll move them to a safer spot. Alright, and now we're going to try and order our Burg infantry to pull back, I think. I don't think we're going to be able to pull back. I'm worried about those rifles and how much damage they'll do to us. Yeah, I think we'll pull them back in parallel with their colleagues back here. Let's see what we can do. We get a 9, no order comes off. Alright, that's it. The rest of my troops will just continue their firing this turn. They are disordered, so they can't move. Okay, the Nassau will fire. They are shaken and disordered. I don't know whether that gives you both a -1, but I do know 6 always hit. So it's given it's firing at deployed artillery, it would be on 6s or indeed 7s to hit if they were cumulative. If anyone knows whether you add those 2 modifiers together for a shaken and disordered unit, let me know whether it really is -2, but we'll still need 6s to hit for these Nassau. Ah, wow, we get 2 6s. That disorders the artillery. Then saves. They save 1 and suffer 1 casualty. Alright, now firing the right-hand Nassau battalion. This one again will be just disordered, so it's needing 5s to hit. It hits once, disorders the Highlanders yet again, and they fail, so they take a casualty. Okay, so we'll move on for initiative for the British. Given that being in square isn't great news if you're charged by infantry, I think we might take a risk. The British will stay in line and volley that cavalry unit that's facing off against it, see if we can break them. That might be tough. So they're not going to do anything. I am going to issue an order, a rally order on my Highlanders to try and take off a casualty. We roll a 5. That does take off a casualty. They stop being shaken, which is good news at least. Alright, otherwise we will have a go at moving the rifles forward. They will move along the rocks to fire into the flank of the Burg infantry. They need an 8 or less. 9, they fail, and actually they would have needed a lot more because they're not more orders, so they're well out of command range. But they can actually still fire from the rocky outcrops anyway. Okay, 2 shots against the just reformed Nassau infantry from the British artillery. A 5 and a 6, so that will shake them again. Pretty much every turn we're shaking one another. And that's 2 casualties. And the saves. Fail both. Alright. We'll have to do a morale test for them in a second. Okay, we'll fire the Highlanders at the other Nassau battalion. Again, 3 shots. They're disordered, and they are not shaken, so only on -1, and they're firing at the Nassau. One hit doesn't shake them, and the Nassau save, so better result on this side. Right, so this Nassau battalion, off camera, I realised I'd forgot to use my army chief to do a rally test on them, so he'd rallied off 1 casualty. So they're on 2, they're now on 4, so this is a test at -2. They roll a 4. That's not good news, they break. Okay, and now our 32nd will do a volley against those French cavalry. 3 dice, but I don't think it's quite at close range, so we'll need 4, so we'll just check the distance. A 5 and a 6, so they're disordered, so they won't be able to charge home, so that at least was worth the gamble. And the 1 won't get a re-roll anyway, because it would have been a 3 at best. They save 1 and lose 1, so that's 1 casualty on the French cavalry. And then finally the redoubtable rifles will have a go at the Burg infantry, re-roll on this because of the sharpshooters. They've again done a disorder, only 1 hit and saving throw. They save, but the Burg infantry have gone disordered. Okay, so just about to start turn 6 was just checking to see whether the French were still in the fight. So they've lost 2 infantry battalions now, so they've lost 2 of their 4 brigades, and therefore at 50% casualties. But they still do have their artillery battery, which is definitely attached to the infantry. So they've got 5, so it's 1 more unit that needs to be destroyed by the British for them to call this a victory. And conversely, for the British, for the Confederation troops, they need to break one more of those English units. It's not too far off for either side to go broken in this game. Okay, so the Confederation troops are going to continue their bombardment of the British position and pinning them in place with their cavalry. We will have a rally order on our 2nd cavalry unit. So this is going to be at -1, so we need a 6 or less. A 5, we do rally a casualty off this cavalry regiment. Right, now let's get on with firing. So we have our artillery battery again. It's going to do the same thing, long range shot against the Highlanders, which hits and then bounce through, misses, and against the Highlanders they need to roll a 5 or more to save. They don't save, so they stay disordered and they take an extra casualty. That was probably a bit of a mistake by me. If I had managed to cause an extra casualty on the artillery, they would have gone shaken, and then I could have fired my Nassau at the Highlanders, so I would have had 2 goes to get a shaken brigade. But anyway, we did cause a casualty, so at the start of the British turn, I think they will be in trouble. Let's fire the Nassau at them. Okay, 3 shots, needing 4s as we're not shaken this turn. 1 casualty. Right, and let's roll for the Highlanders. 2, they take another casualty. Okay, so they're now on 4 casualties, and that's an excess casualty for shooting, so they will have to take a break test at -2. 9 -2 is 7. 7 or more means they would actually hold. Okay, so we call the game there. The start of the British turn, and you test for broken brigades at the start of the turn. The British brigade has indeed now broken. That unit is shaken, another one's been destroyed, it's at 50% casualties, it only had 4 units. So the British brigade has to now retire off the table. Hope you've enjoyed this game of Black Powder and joined on the table. It was a quick game, not many troops, but just me experimenting with the rules, reminding myself what they're like. I'm still a big fan of General D'Armée, but it was interesting to see how this one plays. Again, be really interested in your views. Let me know what you think of it. Catch you all soon. Cheers.